Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order. This meeting is being recorded and videotaped by the City Council and GCTV 15. If any other persons present are doing the same, you must notify the chair at this time. All right, seeing none. Can I please have a roll call of members?
Counselor Jarvis,
Here.
Vice President Nguyen,
He told me there was a chance he might not make it tonight.
Counselor Disorder,
Here.
Counselor Bottomley,
Here.
Counselor Bullock, Counselor Bullock,
He's having bandwidth problems.
and I'll
Anybody
come
else
back.
is anybody else having like audio, almost like feedback?
A little bit.
President
Okay, so can
Nguyen,
we have present? Can we have everyone mute very quickly?
Sorry, I'm having WebEx issues, so I may have missed roll call.
Okay. I will note that Counselor Bullock is present. Counselor Lapiansky. I will come back to him. Counselor Mayo,
Here.
Counselor Healy,
Here.
Hello.
Counselor Elmer,
Here.
Counselor Forgy,
Here.
Counselor Ricketts,
Here.
Counselor Toronzo.
Here.
And going back to Counselor Lapiansky. Okay, I do not see him. Madam President, you have a quorum.
Thank you. All right, next we have the Pledge of Allegiance, and this is voluntary.
Flag of the United States of America.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And justice for all.
That never goes well over WebEx. All right, next we have, okay, do I have a motion to approve the January 18th and January 19th City Council meeting minutes?
So moved, Ricketts.
Seconded,
Second.
Elmer.
Mayo.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Yes? Yes, Councilor Forgy. Oh, are you on mute?
Are either of those special? Can you hear me?
So the first, yes, you asked if there was the special meeting?
Yes.
So that would have been the January 18th date.
Okay, thank you very much.
Is there any other discussion on the meeting minutes? Okay, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? I'm sorry, was that someone who's opposed? Okay, I guess it was a delay. Any abstentions? All right, great. Next, we have communications from the superintendent of schools and our school committee.
Hello, everybody. Greetings from the school committee. Hope everyone's doing well. Happy February. Looking forward to 50 degrees tomorrow. I hope everyone else is too. I know the superintendent has a couple of things to just bring to your attention, and I'm going to give it over to her, and then of course we'll take questions when we're done. Go ahead, Christine.
Good evening, everybody. I wanted to just share with you a very brief overview of the superintendent's budget, which has been posted on the district website and posted publicly as required. So I think it's been in the recorder, or it will be shortly. So just for a very basic overview, you'll see that if you had the opportunity to check, you'll see that at this point, the superintendent's budget represents a 7.72% increase over the local appropriation from FY22. The primary reason for the increase is that previously settled collective bargaining agreements, which included some retroactive pay. That retroactive pay was paid out of the district school choice funds, but the cumulative increases are now affecting the FY23 budget. So that's approximately half of the superintendent's budget increase for local appropriation. Some of the other increases are spread out across the budget, but include things such as increases in contracted services. We have some special education service increases. You probably have heard many times, but those are mandated services, and IEP teams meet to talk about the needs of individual students. So that is something that we need to include in the budget. We have a few staffing increases, but primarily those are offset by grant funds. The ESSER funds have been utilized substantially to increase where we have added staff. So really those are the highlights in terms of the budget. It's really a lot of salary and then student specific needs. I will go into certainly a lot more detail when I do my budget presentation, which is March 1st. And there is a breakdown of how we had proposed to use our ESSER grants on the district website. We're in the process of doing a few amendments to that because we've seen as this year has gone on that our original plan is being modified somewhat. So those amendments are being processed. So that's
Now,
a very brief highlight.
There you go. Because the superintendent had to talk all about the money stuff, the budget. I want to quickly mention for folks who don't necessarily watch our meetings, some good news out of the district. 2 of our teachers were recognized as Excellence in Teaching Award winners, Grinspoon Awards. It's one of the Grinspoon Awards. Shannon Collins, who's a special ed team leader, and Jenny Horton. Horton is her last name.
Yeah.
From AEL, the preschool, were both recently recognized at our meeting, and they had surprise visits from the superintendent and assistant superintendent to recognize them, which was kind of cool. So always good to bring you a little good news as well.
Absolutely.
And I think the basketball team's in the playoffs. I heard that.
So Coach Kaczewski let me know that the Western Mass playoffs start later in February, and our boys basketball team, 5th seed in Class C and 19th seed in the state. And the girls are a 9th seed in Western Mass and 31st in the state. The girls unfortunately won't be in the Western Mass playoffs, but could make it in the state. And then ice hockey is a 4th seed in Western Mass Class B, and as of now, we'll play in those playoffs. And yeah, that's where we are now. You know, there's still some of the season to go, but you know, Mike gave me a nice update to share. So it's always exciting to see how our athletic teams progress, especially making it into Western Mass or state playoffs. So it's great news. Yes. And as you shared, next week is school vacation, which is also a positive.
School vacation and March 1st at 6:30, in person at the high school will be our budget hearing for the FY23 budget, in case that hasn't gotten out yet. And of course, we'll take your questions if there's.
Great. Do any of the counselors have any questions for the superintendent or the chair of the school committee? All right, it looks like you two are getting off easy tonight.
I guess so. Have a
Thank
great meeting.
you. You guys have a
All right.
great
Stay
night.
warm.
Thank
Bye.
you. Have a good night.
Thanks.
President Gilmore, this is Jasper Lapiensky. I am present by phone now.
Great. Thank you for letting us know.
I want you to know that among other technical difficulties, the meeting ID is listed incorrectly on the website, which is one of the reasons it took me so long.
Okay, I'll have the clerk's office look into that.
There's supposed
All
to be
right.
a 2 at the beginning of it, just in case anyone else is trying to get on.
Okay, thank you.
Oh.
All right, next I have communications from the mayor, city officers, and other employees. I don't believe that the mayor is joining us tonight. Is there anyone else from the executive that would like to give an update?
No,
I
exactly.
don't. I'm sorry? Okay, so if people could stay on mute for the time being, just so that we're not getting a lot of feedback. I'm assuming that there's nobody representing the mayor's office on the meeting tonight. We don't have our chief of staff or anyone. All right. Okay, and then we have communications from other city employees as needed by invitation. We didn't invite anybody for this month. So we can move on to public comment. Let me just pull up the chat box here so I can see. And the first person I have is Al Norman. If you could please state your name and your address for the record, and then you have your 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Put timer on, folks.
Thank you, President. My name is Al Norman, 21 Grinnell Street. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'll be brief because I had a column in this morning's paper that I think summarizes my feelings about Section 7.7. The problem at this point is that the citizen initiative process is broken, in my opinion. And this is not something that I just came upon yesterday. I said this a long time ago, as far back as April of 2021, repeatedly to the Charter Review Committee and to, you'll see my comments to the City Council and to the Review Committee, the Ordinance Committee. I said that the reason it's broken is that this is a very, very lengthy two-step process for gathering signatures. It'll require citizens to go out and get 1,000 signatures to cover for signatures that are disqualified. So this is a very cumbersome process that people won't like. The committee the Ordinance Committee has given people what they don't want. They don't want a process that's 3 times higher than it is now for a referendum. And my simple response is that I'd like to see the council refer this back to committee. I think the committee needs to spend more than 2 minutes and 39 seconds discussing this. There was no discussion at the committee level. My comments were never acknowledged or discussed or asked any questions. I think that this is an important citizen direct democracy right. It should have been on the ballot last November along with Section 7.8. But I would say that at this point, the idea of putting out an ordinance that is offensive to people because it requires so many votes, that makes such a gap between the two, 7.8 and 7.7, that I think that's why people are unhappy. It's not that they don't like, that they want no change or they want more change. They just want an ordinance that works. And if you take a look at the 1,253 word document, I think you can find plenty of reasons why it's not ready for prime time. So I'm hoping you'll put it back to committee. I'd be happy to work with the committee on language for this ordinance, and I appreciate your attention tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Next I have Glenn Ayers. Glenn, I'm also giving you 3 minutes, and if you would state your name and your address, please.
Yes, hi, I'm Glenn Ayers. I live at 254 Davis Street. Thank you very much for allowing public comments tonight. I want to start off by saying that I attended the public involvement meeting last night having to do with the Lunt cleanup. And that was run by the lawyer who is trying to buy the Lunt property. And I was actually extremely disappointed and really appalled by the way that meeting was run. It was not a public involvement meeting. It was 45 minutes of the attorney providing excuses and really trying to defend what has been going on and what has not been going on at Lunt, which is a cleanup, has not been going on. And I think that the city council needs to take a serious look at the need to replace the current licensed site professional who has been in charge of the cleanup at Lunt for 10 years and has failed to take even a lot of preliminary steps that need to be taken. And we heard the mayor claim that the previous mayor, Mayor Martin, had a shredding party and destroyed many of the records associated with the Lunt property. I filed a public records request for the records having to do with the financial expenditures at Lunt, and I have received very little. The city asked for a 25-day extension to provide that information, but we know that DEP is now conducting an audit of the cleanup, and I believe that the city or the city council needs to request a forensic accounting audit of the money that has been spent on the Lunt cleanup, because just one of the records that the city provided shows that Mayor Martin transferred $52,676 from the sewer fund retained earnings account to pay for, I assume, the phase 2 report for Lunt by claiming that that OTO, this was all paid to OTO in 1 year, that they had done an inspection of the sewer lines in and around the Lunt property for almost $53,000 to conduct a survey. Now that is just absurd. And that's just one example. I'm sure there will be many others that there was misappropriation of funds. And we really deserve, the public should have a clear accounting of all the shenanigans that have gone on with the Lunt property. There was obviously a lot of things that were done improperly here, and we deserve to know the truth. So I'm asking that the council take a look at the financial accounting that went on with that property if it turns out that the records weren't all shredded by the previous mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, I have Mike Corona. And Mike, if you could state your name and your address for the record, please.
Mike Corona, 541 Mohawk Trail. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, President Sheila Gilmore, for this opportunity to speak. I want to speak about the citizen initiative, and here it goes. Someone asked me, why do you care so much about the citizens initiative? I wondered, why should we care? What does this have to do with me? Why should anyone care about this issue? I ask you, do you care if public officials follow through on their oath of serving the people? Do you care if your voice as a people, constituent, a voter, a neighbor, a parent, or community matters? Does making your voice harder to be heard or easier to be heard matter to you? Does it bother you if public officials do not care or listen to what you think or even vote for? What should matter more, what the people want or what politicians want? A democratic republic, a country both a republic and a democracy, it is one where ultimate authority and power is derived from its citizens. We, the people, are petitioning our representatives of government to change the process of citizens initiative in section 7-7 in the Greenfield City Charter to be the same language as the citizens referendum in section 7-8. The people voted. We want more voice and not less voice. I humbly ask my fellow voters to reach out to the city councilors of Greenfield and let them know you want more voice, not less voice. If the city council rubber stamps section 7-7 with no language changes and a much higher signature requirement, then it means they don't work for the people or miss the entire message of what voters confirmed last November. We want to be clear. What the Ordinance Committee recommended does not give the people of Greenfield the kind of process and voice they would need to petition government. We deserve and respect a better initiative ordinance. The Ordinance Committee has claimed it listened to the people of Greenfield. If true, then why would some in this city council take a position contrary to the people's voice? Why would public officials who are voted into office by the people and for the people not understand or listen to the people they are supposed to represent? If they do not represent the people, then who are they representing? We want to believe someone in government represents and listens to us. This is your turn to show us. Please reach out to the city councils of Greenfield and let them know how you feel and what you think about having more voice versus less voice in local government. Thank you.
Thank you. That's everybody that I see in the chat box. Is there anybody else who wanted to speak during public comment? Okay. All right, I don't hear anybody. We don't have any public hearings. We don't have any second readings. So next we're going to move on to motions, orders, and resolutions. All right. So item 1 is approval by council to resume in person for all city council and subcommittee meetings. That's on page 15 of your packet. So for those of us who are new, if you would like to weigh in on a topic, please feel free, type your name in the chat. And then I'll call on people in the order that I see them in the chat. We do have a counselor on the phone. If you want to get in, just let me know that you'd like to speak and I'll try to fit you in I'm going to get the people that I see first or hear first.
Yeah, I'll speak.
Okay, I don't see anyone in the chat, so I'm going to let Councilor Lapiansky go first.
Point of order.
Yes.
I think this motion has to be read in order for us to have discussion.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, who would like to read this?
I can read it.
Oh, if you have it at your fingertips, that would be lovely.
Okay, I can read it. Okay. Fiscal order fiscal year 22-089. The City Council moved that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Council votes to resume in-person meetings for all City Council and subcommittee meetings. Majority vote required.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Who is the second?
Lapiansky. Sorry.
Okay, great. All right, I'm sorry about that. I'm going to get out of myself. All right, so Councilor Lapiansky wanted to speak first. If there's anyone else who wants to speak, type your name into the chat box and I'll get people in order.
Well, I think that my experience tonight should speak for why we need to be meeting in person. There was various technical difficulties, and I am generally a person who finds all the technical difficulties and makes them happen, but ultimately I was almost prevented from attending because the website had the wrong meeting ID for the call-in, and the only reason I was able to figure that out is because one of my failed attempts to get onto one of the applications gave me a different number, and I figured out where that number fit in. I suspect that there are people who had intended to participate from the public who are not here because of that reason. And comparatively, something like the John Zahn Center is relatively easy to find. Obviously, you all know I'm in favor, but I'd like to also speak to the issue of actually meeting in person. In my opinion, the example of the organizational meeting demonstrates that we can do this. We did so quite recently as some of you are aware, I noted after that the sky didn't fall. And as a matter of fact, we don't have any indication that any member of the council or the public was adversely affected or got sick as a result of that. And we did it. It went well. We did our business, and there were no technical difficulties except on GCTV's end. So I believe that the evidence is there that we are capable of doing this smoothly, and we owe it to the public to face them when we're debating issues of importance to them.
All right, thank you. Next, I have Councilor Mayo.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to speak in opposition of this because we're still in a state of high alert for COVID, and Franklin County seems to be second only to the state in being as still high as far as the last reporting. And I'm still, people are still required to wear masks inside stores, inside any building, city building, and required in group, suggested very strongly in groups. And I'm concerned that I would, at this time, I don't want a super spreader event. And that a super spreader event is basically any event where there's 10 people or more at a grouping. And because the state hasn't even dropped their guidelines, I would like to wait at least until the state drops their guidelines on the situation before we move back to in-person meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wanted to weigh in on this topic? Yes, Councilor Forgy.
Thank you. I just put that in the chat room. We got an email later this afternoon from our clerk who said that the governor has extended the time period for virtual meetings out until July. I think it's important for all of us to understand that that many of us in our personal lives have been affected by COVID, and not all of the people that we've known have recovered from COVID. Many of us have children. Many of us are in different health categories. I think the wisdom here is to follow the governor. And so I would urge councilor members to vote to maintain our virtual meetings. And every month we should revisit and review based on the statistics that come forward from the state. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I see Councilor Elmer.
Yes, I wanted to speak to the difficulty the counselor was having getting to the meeting. I sympathize. I've often had problems getting into the meeting, but we did get an alert from the city clerk's office that the information that was sent out by WebEx was wrong, and she told us to use the information she sent. I guess it's a lesson, and you got to pay close attention to what the clerk's office is sending you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilor Elmer. Is there anybody else who would like to speak to this?
May I rebut that? Lapiensky?
One moment. Are there any councilors who haven't spoken on this yet before I recognize Councilor Lapiensky? Okay, I have Councilor Bullock in the chat. So, Councilor Bullock, before you get started, I just want to explain for those who are new, the way we go through this is any councilor who has not yet spoken takes precedence over a councilor who's already spoken, and then we can come back. The floor is yours now.
Thank you. I have a point of clarity that I'd like to ask a question and then just a statement. I guess I'll start with a statement first so the questions get lost. So My statement is really that my ability to perform as a city councilor on the two committees, like this is my 5th meeting of February, I think, so far, really hinges on the ability to be remote. I work 2 jobs, I have 2 kids, and I'm away from them all day, obviously. So just being able to be in proximity to them really matters. And I think this is about like feasibility for people that are in different stages of life, being able to participate in local government, state government as well. Obviously, this is a problem. So there's that piece for me where remote access is very important. My clarity question is, in one of the committee meetings last week, there was some remote access documents that were shared around that I read over that gave the option for remote based on disability, based on proximity, the location, those sort of things. Is this vote, is a yes vote to go in person, like blanket we're in person, or is it we're in person with that remote access caveat in there?
So the motion that's currently on the floor is for us to move our meetings in person. We're at a point now where we're discussing the motion. If a counselor wanted to make an amendment that, certain types of meetings would be remote and other types would not be remote, that would be appropriate to this motion. We cannot talk about the remote participation piece because that's a separate motion that's coming up on the agenda next. And because we have a motion on the floor, we're not able to discuss that one quite yet. So I know that these things get to be very, very hazy, but what we're doing right now is we're meeting remotely because of the state of emergency. Remote participation would be allowed even if we were not in a state of emergency. If a counselor needed to participate remotely, they would have to notify me. And there are a number of reasons why a person would be allowed to participate remotely. Illness, military service, travel, personal emergency. That's coming up later on in the packet, and we can review those reasons in a moment. But that is separate from what we're talking about now. This is whether or not the meetings in general would be held remotely.
Okay, thank you.
Does that answer? Okay, great. And then next I have Councilor Jarvis.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd just like to remind people that we do have city councilors that are in various ages and various groups that may be affected by meeting in person right now. I'm not opposed to meeting in person. I would like to meet in person, but I would like to make sure everybody is safe while we're meeting in person. And obviously, we're not going to go into people's health issues or anything like that, why they would not feel comfortable. Myself just got done with the hospital with a lung issue, so I'm trying to be very safe about what I do to my left lung. So with that being said, I think we need to tread a little lightly, see the numbers go down. Me personally, see the numbers go down a little bit to where I feel that it would be safer for people that have issues and counselors that have issues. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Next I see Councilor Toronzo.
Yeah, can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I just had to do audio through another meeting. So, yeah, I'm in agreement with Ed on this. While I would love to not be staring at a screen, I think we might be a little bit early, especially with the cold weather. Because while I understand we all got together for the organizational meeting, that was very limited audio. Whereas if we are all meeting and public comments happening with sometimes, many people in there like sardines, and especially with the cold weather, we don't even want to have to ask people to stand outside to wait, whereas that could be an option if the weather was, warmer. So I while, again, just to reiterate, I would love to get back to in-person, in-person meeting with you guys, but I had attended meetings before. I just think we're a little bit too early right now, and maybe, as Chris had even said, adhering to some of the lines from higher ups that deal with this on a much different level than we do. Because, and that's it.
All right, thank you. Are there any other counts? I'm sorry, I'm getting a little feedback. If people could mute if they're not speaking right now. Are there any other counselors who have not yet spoken on this issue who would like to speak? Okay, seeing none. I'm going to go ahead and recognize Counselor Lapinski. If anyone else wants to weigh in, feel free. You can type your name in the chat box.
So, first of all, Counselor Elmer, the slight against me, I object to. I was not contacted by the clerk's office with correct information. And more importantly, neither was the public. The public is being denied an opportunity to participate because a handful of us don't want to face them. This is a political issue. If you cannot face the public, you should be in another job. With regard to risk of illness, we had a meeting in person. There was no illness as a result. There's never going to be a world with no illness, and we are not taking a cushy office job. We are taking a job of public service, and we have to take it a lot more seriously than we have been. Can everyone mute yourself? Can you hear me now? This is not the discourse of a legislative body. This is the discourse of a group of family members getting together over the phone because they live on other continents. We, as the city council, should be ashamed of ourselves for what we are putting the public through. Now, granted, many of us ran unopposed, and so there's not a lot to be said for the political implications of it. But the public, the citizens of Greenfield, deserve so much better than what they're getting. And in part, it would be one thing if we could get the technological piece right. And on the other hand, even if we could, we should not be hiding from the public. We should be facing them. And if someone doesn't feel comfortable being in public, then they are not to be a public servant, in my opinion. But in the meantime, if you're going to give a reason why you don't want to do it, it should be based on our experience. And our experience is it works.
Okay.
And don't blame me for this.
Okay, before I recognize anyone else, I do want to point out, I think I do not think that Counselor Elmer was trying to say anything negative about you. We did receive an email with an amended agenda, and I think that's what he was talking about, because the first agenda had incorrect information on it. So I think that was his reference. And Counselor Elmer, since you were named, you have the opportunity to respond, and then I'm going to go to Counselor Jarvis.
That's okay. I don't have to say anything.
Okay. I'm sorry. I saw that right after that. I'm sorry about that. Okay. Counselor Jarvis.
I move the question.
All right. Great. Do we have a second? Oh, wait, do we need a second? All right. Tammy, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Counselor Jarvis?
No.
You need a second. Do you get it?
I think Counselor Forgy had her hand up, and my vote is no.
This is a motion to call the question.
Right.
Counselor Jarvis,
Yes.
I'm sorry, Tammy. Yes.
Counselor DeSorger,
Yes. Yes.
Counselor Bottomley,
Yes.
Counselor Bullock,
Yes.
Counselor Lapiensky,
Yes.
Counselor Mayo,
Yes.
Counselor Healy,
Yes.
Counselor Elmer,
Yes.
Counselor Forgy,
Yes.
Counselor Ricketts,
Yes.
Counselor Toronzo,
Yes.
President Gilmore, would you like to vote?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
So now the question on the floor is whether or not we are going to meet remotely. So a yes vote means, I'm sorry. Tammy, could you please explain? And let me pull up the way it's phrased on the agenda. I don't want to misinform anyone. So a yes vote means that we would start or we would resume in-person meetings, and a no vote means that we would continue to meet remotely. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And if I can get a roll call vote on that, please.
Counselor Jarvis,
No.
Counselor DeSorger,
No. No.
Counselor Bottomley,
No.
Counselor Bullock,
No.
Counselor Lapiensky, Counselor Lapiensky.
I don't believe he's here anymore.
Okay. Counselor, you're muted. Oh, there you go. Counselor Mayo,
No. Or wait a minute. What was the?
we're voting on whether you want to resume in-person meetings.
No, I don't.
Counselor Healy,
No.
Counselor Elmer,
No.
Counselor Forgy,
No.
Counselor Ricketts,
Yes.
Counselor Toronzo,
No.
President Gilmore, would you like to vote?
No, thank you.
Motion fails.
Great, thank you. So next, here's the discussion that Councilor Bullock was asking about before. This is the approval for the use of remote participation for city council members. Can I get someone to read that, please?
I would be able to do that. I knew that Councilor Gwynn was not going to be here. He called me and he asked me if I would do the appointments and ordinances this evening, President Gilmore.
That would
Just
be
so you
great.
know. Okay, thank you. All
Yes,
right.
he let me know also. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Order number fiscal year 22-090. The City Council moved that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Council approves the use of remote participation for council members once a legal opinion is obtained from the Massachusetts general laws and the installation of the proper technology is in place. A majority vote required. The supporting rationale is listed below. There's quite a lot of it. This was a unanimous positive recommendation coming out of appointments and ordinances. I need a
Okay.
second. I need a
Second DeSorger.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Councilor DeSorger if she'll chair the meeting for the next 5 minutes. I just need to step away for a moment and I will be right back.
Okay. Anyone wishes to speak on this, you can just type your name in the chat.
Can we get a report from the committee?
Oh, yes, but that was a great idea, Councillor Elmer. Councillor Forgy, would you like to give the report from the committee? Thank
Oh,
you.
certainly. It was a unanimous vote. There is some background to this. Apparently that a council or two ago actually brought this up, and it was actually brought up by the then Mayor Bill Martin, and it went to council. And it did not pass council, but as a lot was discussed in the meeting the other evening, we did, as Marianne, Councillor Bullock mentioned this evening, we are in different times than we find ourselves a couple of years ago. And it seems to make sense, given what we have seen happen to us in the past few years, that there be allowances made in participation that are in accordance with the documentation that has been written out and was submitted for the council vote the first time. This is a well thought out plan. There are specific reasons. They have to be, they're all spelled out in your packet on page 21, as a matter of fact. And all the votes, if there is somebody who is participating remotely, because when we go back into full council meetings, if somebody is hospitalized, use that for an example, then every vote that takes place on council floor, including the person that's unable to appear in person, must be by roll call. There's also a certain procedures that must be adhered to as well. I think A&O was impressed with the paperwork that had come forward on this. The work has been done before. I think it's in a good place right at the moment, and we did have a positive recommendation for it to go forward.
Anyone else? Anyone else wanted to speak on that? In that case, I'm going to speak positively in favor of it. We adopted it on both disability access and on planning. This sort of, to me, was an eye to the future of when we are able to be back together, which I think will be coming shortly. But this would allow someone who was hospitalized, traveling, disabled, this is for a counselor, that they would be able to participate remotely. So I'm definitely in favor of that.
Okay, so I'm back, so I can take over. Thank you, Councillor DeSorger, our third in command as our treasurer. Is there anyone else who wants to weigh in on this topic? Personally, I'm glad that we're talking about this before we move to in-person meetings. I think this is going to be necessary, especially since, you know, the pandemic is certainly not over. I know that we've felt several times now that it was coming to an end. But if somebody is affected, even if the numbers are way down, but we have a counselor who's affected, we want them to be able to participate. So I'm glad that we're having this discussion before moving back to the John Zahn Center. And unless someone wants to weigh in, I would, Councillor Toronto.
Just real quick, I mean, even just looking back on the discussion in the packet from when this was addressed before, it kind of suggested that they were opting out for then, and until we had the proper, and I think that that's smart, especially with not only with COVID, but also the way that a lot of our job market, how people are, just technology in general is being used a lot more for jobs. So it allows people to work different hours, multiple locations, things of that nature. And I don't see why our position here should be any different. It's moving forward with the times. And I think that that's, important that now that we are on the brink of getting the really proper both together, I think we should.
Thank you. Is there anyone else before we vote? Okay, hearing none. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Counselor Jarvis,
Yes.
Counselor DeSorber,
Yes.
Counselor Bottomley,
Yes.
Counselor Bullock,
Yes.
Counselor Mayo,
Yes.
Counselor Healy,
Yes.
Counselor Elmer,
Yes.
Counselor Forgy,
Yes.
Counselor Ricketts,
Yes.
Counselor Toronzo.
Yes.
President Gilmore, would you like to vote?
No, thank you.
Okay, motion passes.
Great. Thank you so much. And the next one is on here twice. So, Counselor Forgy, this was the approval of the ad hoc committee, and that one was yours, I believe.
Yeah, order number fiscal year 22-091. The City Council moved that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Council approves the formation of the committee for the collection of additional funds for the construction of the new fire station, and ad hoc committee of the City Council for the purpose of establishing a platform in which to explore various avenues in which additional funds could be collected for the construction of the new fire station. 3, parentheses, the number 3, members shall be appointed by the City Council, President with City Council, and shall serve until completion of the project. Majority vote required. Madam President, we did discuss this at our meeting last.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I need a second.
Oh, sorry.
Second DeSorber.
Bottomley.
Thank you. We did discuss this last evening. It was, we did not, I do not think, I'm going to probably misspeak here, we actually voted on it, but it seemed that everybody had a positive feeling about it. Am I correct, Ed? Can you remember? I can't remember.
You are correct, Chris. We did not put a vote out there for any kind of recommendation. You are correct.
Okay, thank you. Right. We discussed it and then we did not vote on it. So it's coming out with no recommendation.
All right. Are there any counselors who have any questions or actually, maybe I should let you know the folks that I had chosen to appoint would be Counselor Forgy, Counselor Ricketts, and Counselor Healy. In case that informs your questions or comments at all. And if there's anyone who wants to weigh in, just let me know.
Madam President, may I speak?
Yes.
I am in favor of this. But I do have a question about the committee. Is this committee basically reaching out to the public as in the library committee did to raise money for the fire station?
So I see this more as an exploratory committee. It would be problematic for city councilors to reach out and, create a fundraising arm. But to have some folks on the city council who are dedicated to this issue, researching different options that are available, different funding sources, just to sort of help and dovetail along with with the work that's already being done.
Like grants or something of that nature?
Whatever they come across, I don't want to limit them. And Councilor Forgy, this was her baby, her brainchild, so I'm going to let her weigh in on this.
Understood. Thank you.
First of all, thank you. Thank you, President Gilmore. First of all, I would like to acknowledge that we already have a very capable counselor that has been working as the liaison between the city council and the fire department building committee. That is Councilor Jarvis. This is in no way going to interfere with any of the work that he or any of the other members of the Fire Station Building Committee have put in place at this point. This is, as our president has said, it's exploratory. It's getting the issue noticed by the public. It's brainstorming how we can possibly do things. If people are looking to do some fundraising work for the fire station, this might be a good committee to talk to and start with. Although I'd encourage them to also go and talk to the mayor as well. But it's just, I think, a public statement by council that we are willing to step up to the plate and enjoying the effort of everybody to see a successfully built fire station and a well-funded one as well.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who has any questions or comments?
You, Sheila.
I'm sorry, who was that? Oh, yes, go ahead.
One thing I just wanted to point out, I don't think this was duplicated. I believe this is two separate motions. Is that right? That one is that we would form the committee, and then the second is approving the appointment of that committee. That's the way that I was reading it.
Yes, there are two motions.
Oh, good for you. I was seeing them on two separate pages. Very
They were
good.
both laying facing at me the same way. Yeah, I think utilizing every effort that we can, the building is great. It's as everybody probably knows. Not only is this piece of construction affected by from the past 2 years and ongoing with supply issues and cost, and oil looks like it's even going to go up further. So I mean, there's undoubtedly costs are going to be different than what would have been expected when we discussed before, just as they would have been had this been 10 years ago compared to 2 years ago. The cost would have gone up, and important for folks to recognize the separation of this project from other projects. I know that there's been some comment out there for grouping this in and blaming the library project on COVID and all ramifications on so many facets of our community. A lot of these hiccups wouldn't even happen, and nobody could have foreseen that when throughout the whole library process and the vote. That vote was what 3 or this became a thing, and it have been a complete order of operations or ways of going about it if had it not happened. So I mean, I think it's just important folks to keep that going forward as changes are probably going to be implemented along the process.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, do I have any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none. So this is to form the committee. And Tammy, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilor Jarvis?
Yes.
Councilor DeSorbo?
Yes.
Councilor Bottomley?
Yes.
Counselor Bullock,
Yes.
Counselor Mayo,
Yes.
Counselor Healy,
Yes.
Counselor Elmer,
Yes.
Counselor Forgy,
Yes.
Counselor Ricketts,
Yes.
Counselor Toronzo.
Yes.
Does the president wish to vote?
Yes, and I'm voting in favor.
It passes unanimously.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay, so now I put the cart before the horse. Now we have the approval of the appointments onto this committee. And if I can get somebody to read that, please.
Order number fiscal year 22-092. The City Council moved that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Council approves the appointment of the following councilors to the ad hoc committee for the collection of additional funds for the construction of a new fire station, terms to expire upon completion of the project. Councilor Christine Forgy, Councilor Penny Ricketts, Councilor Derek Healy. Majority vote required.
Second, Jarvis.
All right. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
I have a question.
Yes.
Is Counselor Lapiensky not in the roll call for a reason?
It appears that he logged out of the meeting. If he is still here and he speaks up, I'd be happy to recognize him.
Okay,
I don't
thanks.
see a call in, but thank you. All right. Any other questions or comments on the motion? So I just want to say, I think that this is going to be a really good group. I think that we've got a brand new person who has shown himself to be very enthusiastic about getting involved and also has a background in construction. We have Councilor Ricketts, who has always been a big cheerleader for our public safety folks. And then Councilor Forgy, who I think has some weird tenuous relationship to the fire department somehow.
Yeah.
But I think the three councilors are going to do a really great job. And I know that this is going to be something that's going to be very important for them and they're going to make it a priority. So with that, I hope that all of you will approve my appointments. And with that, if I could get a roll call vote, please.
Counselor Jarvis,
Yes.
Counselor DeSorger,
Yes.
Counselor Bottomley,
Yes.
Counselor Bullock,
Yes.
Counselor Mayo,
Without question, yes.
Counselor Healy,
Yes.
Counselor Elmer,
Yes.
Counselor Forgy,
Yes.
Counselor Ricketts,
Yes.
Counselor Toronzo.
Yes.
Does the president wish to vote?
Yes, and yes.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you. All right, next is Ways and Means. And Councilor Forgy, if you need a break from reading, I would be fine if you want to appoint someone from your committee to read this.
Okay, we can do that. That's fine. Thank you. There is a lot to get through. So I'm going to ask Councilor Jarvis if he'd like to read this. He did that for us yesterday at our meeting. So, okay.
You want me to
That
get
was
a
a dress
second try at
rehearsal.
not to stumble through it again, huh?
That was a dress rehearsal.
Very good. Thanks, Councilor Forgy, for the second try.
Okay.
Order number FY 22-086. The City Council, upon recommendation of Mayor Wiedengartner, in order to rescind the borrowing authorities, order that upon recommendation of the mayor, the following borrowing authority totaling $350,000 be rescinded. The purpose, do I have to read the rest of this whole, the purpose thing or no?
Yeah,
Tammy?
you have to.
I do, okay, thank you. Purpose, skate park. Date of vote, 4/21/21. Article number 21-073. Amount authorized, $350,000. Unissued, 12/31/21, 350,000. Total unissued, 350,000. Majority vote required. I don't know if Chris wants to give the rationalization afterwards, so.
Second,
I'll second
Mayo.
it. Oh. We have a second.
Yeah, and a report from committee, please.
Okay. It was unanimous, positive recommendation. If there was a number of us on the council that remember that in a fiscal order that was issued in April 21st, 2021, when the city was applying for the skate park grant, required us to make a commitment of funds at that time before the grant would be accepted. So we went ahead and we authorized $350,000, which was matching to the other part of the grant. Or close, yes, that was matching. When the grant was received and the city went to accept the grant, they had to accept the total amount of the grant, which was the whole amount of the borrowing of the authorization, which is $780,000. And so, as nice as it would have been to have that extra $350,000, the original vote has to be rescinded, since we voted to accept the grant at our, I believe it was our January. Let me see, it was our December meeting. So what we are doing now is we are rescinding the original authority that was needed in order to get the grant in place and get it going so we could apply for it. And there is money, it was voted by the council, for all of the authority and all of the borrowing for this project.
All right. Does anybody have any questions about that? Okay. I know that can be confusing. That's all. All right. So seeing none, if I can get a roll call vote, please.
Counselor Jarvis,
Yes.
Counselor DeSorger,
Yes.
Counselor Bottomley,
Yes.
Counselor Bullock,
Yes.
Counselor Mayo,
Yes.
Counselor Healy,
Yes.
Counselor Elmer,
Yes.
Counselor Forgy,
Yes.
Counselor Ricketts,
Yes.
Counselor Toronzo.
Yes.
Does the president wish to vote?
No, thank you.
It passes.
Great, thank you. All right, next on the agenda, we have the mayor's veto. That didn't really come from a subcommittee, so I'm gonna ask, actually, could I get people, if you're not speaking right now, to mute? I'm getting a lot of feedback. So I'm gonna ask if someone wants to volunteer to read this, please. It's on page 26.
I'll volunteer.
Thank you.
Okay. The city council moved that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Charter, Article 4, School Department, Section 4, 2, School Committee Chair, subsection A, election and term, be amended, previously voted on by the City Council on January 19th, 2022, and vetoed by the mayor on January 28th, 2022, is hereby approved.
I'm sorry, do we have a second?
Second, Jarvis.
All right. I feel like Councillor Gwynn gave a very good explanation of what happened here. So this was a charter amendment that we voted on during the last calendar year. So some of the newer councilors were, our new councilors, none of our new councilors were here yet, I'm sorry. And you may not have been part of that discussion, but we had voted on this amendment to the charter and it passed unanimously. And then everything, it went from the Charter Review Committee back in 2020 and then to A&O. And then from A&O, it goes to the lawyer's office. Once the lawyer signs off on it, it comes to the full council. And when the full council signs off on it, we're sending everything up to the mayor's office for approval. So this was vetoed at the last minute. And Councillor Gwynn was concerned about that because it was passed unanimously and has been in progress for 2 years. If there's anyone who has questions about the process, sorry, Councillor Toronto. Oh, that's an old one. If there's anyone who has any questions about this or the process, if you want to put your name in the chat. All right, seeing none. Oh, Councillor Forgy.
I can't get to the chat fast enough, so I apologize. I do think there's a little bit of discussion that needs to happen here. I'm not sure what the correct mechanism is to make this all happen, but when the charter change is voted on and the mayor disagrees with it, there is a clause in Article 8 about severability that says that if the mayor, let's back up a little bit. Normal circumstances, the council will vote, and that vote stands unless the mayor vetoes it. And under normal circumstances, the veto can be overridden by majority of the council. So the mayor always has the right to veto legislation or anything that comes out of the council. And under normal circumstances, the veto does not necessarily have to stand. The council can override that veto with a vote. In a charter situation, it is a bit different. Obviously, the council voted, the mayor has overridden this council vote by a veto. I have read her explanation. I understand it. It makes sense. Having been a mayor before, I can see all the reasons why she would present the argument that she did. However, the process is that it cannot go further. It cannot go to the state with a council and a mayor disagreeing on the topic or the charter change. So in many ways, it's almost a non-starter. If the council moves to override the mayor's veto, it still means that this will not go to Boston. Boston will not look at anything if there is a disagreement between the mayor and the council on any of the pieces of the charter. So that's the explanation at this point, and I don't know the way forward for this.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question. I actually made a couple of phone calls and wasn't able to find an answer. My interpretation, and I could be wrong, and like I said, I was not able to find an answer. But my interpretation is that, as these things go up one at a time, the mayor can veto or not veto, but at the end of the day, there's one package. And I feel like there is still that opportunity for the mayor to sign off on that package, whether she is happy with what we put together or not. But I wasn't able to get an answer on that.
May I make a suggestion, Madam President? I think we have our parliamentarian here, And I don't know if perhaps he can advise us on a way forward. It is true that the whole package goes, but the part that, any part of that package where the mayor and the council disagree will be thrown out. It will not
Yes,
have.
yeah, and I agree with you. And yes, I want to recognize the parliamentarian if he's available. But I would say that if that was the case, then it seems like there would be no reason to have a charter review committee or the city council review it, because at that point it's not it's I don't want to say it's not a democratic process, but at that point it's in the hands of one single person. So it seems like to have all of that time and all of the people hours that went into it is unnecessary, if that's true. So if I could, Will, if you're there, do you have an opinion? I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you have an
No,
opinion,
I am on the spot. That's okay. I'm used to being on the spot. But Sheila, I'm not sure. I would recommend perhaps tabling this and let some investigation.
if we table a veto, doesn't it? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that last part.
He's breaking up. You're breaking up, Will.
Yeah, Will, I'm not hearing you well.
If I could, Sheila?
Yes, Councilor Armour.
We wouldn't be tabling the veto. We would be tabling the vote on whether to override the veto, which we can come back to later. That would be my guess.
I thought there was a time limit on that. Councilor Forgy, I'm going to go back to you, and then I'm going to start recognizing other councilors. I'm sorry, Chris, you're on mute.
I'm getting a T-shirt that's printed. You're on mute. Okay. If you go to the Charter, Article 8, General Provisions, it's 8-2, Severability. And it says, the provisions of this charter are severable. If any provision of this charter is held invalid, the other provisions shall not be affected thereby. So maybe this is a too loose interpretation, but I am arguing that when you have a vote and you have a veto, you have a stalemate as far as the charter is concerned, and therefore it will not affect the other pieces of the charter. They can go, but this particular piece has to be pulled out and dealt with.
I see.
And I'll be quiet now. I'm going to go back on mute.
Okay, so next I have Councilor Mayo.
What this really comes down to, I believe or my understanding is that the mayor wants to be the chair of the school committee. Is that correct?
It's whether or not the mayor is legally able to be the chair of the school committee.
Okay.
So it wouldn't automatically make the mayor the chair.
Okay, so it still would be done by a vote of the school committee as to who would be, he wouldn't be automatically be the chair. She could
That's
be.
correct.
Yes. If she's voted in. Okay, understood. Thank you.
Okay, next I have Councilor DeSorger.
So I went to several of these meetings, and there seemed to be a fair amount of citizen input on this particular one. There were people that thought that would be too much power in the hands of one person. However, I could understand the mayor's, I understood her argument, actually. to be an equal member, to be on a board and be an equal member, because the time could come when you might need to do that. But I stand with my original stance that I approve what the committee approved of. And I just don't know if there's a time frame. Tammy's on the line. Is there a time frame in which we have to do this? That's just a question. If Tammy knows the answer, I'm done.
Yeah, Tammy or Will, if either of you know about the timeline. Okay. Counselor DeSorga, I'm gonna hold that question and hopefully we can get that answered. I'm gonna move on to Counselor Ricketts. I'm sorry, no, Counselor Toronto is next.
Yeah, when I was reading the response from the mayor, the rationale, while I agree with the first part of it being in conflict with section 4.1, I think that could be if that's really the underlying issue of why this was getting vetoed, was because it was inconsistent. 4.2 would be different, inconsistent with 4.1. I don't see why we couldn't change 4.1 to be consistent with 4.2. And, if we wanted to put different language in there, that even though by virtue of the office as the 7th member of the school committee, with all the same powers and duties as the members elected by the voters as the school committee members, that language could be changed in 4.1, maybe even as simply as to say, but for the election of the chair. And I don't know, something like that. If it was, if that's really what's mostly behind why the veto was there, as opposed to the second part, which was, to be blunt, I guess just a matter of opinion. And that's where I would, as you were saying, it kind of seems if 13 of us unanimously with our opinions is being overridden by one person's just straight opinion on it to make a change, then that, as you said, doesn't really seem like a very good form of getting a charter change completed. So that's why I guess it would just come down to what the real underlying importance to the rationale of the mayor's veto is.
Sorry, I was on mute. Next, I have Counselor Ricketts.
Okay, I think some of this stems from too that the mayor and school committee haven't had a chance to talk about it in depth. What was going on when we started putting it through council meetings, they were having 3, 4, 5 times the amount of meetings as we were. They were dealing with a lot more at the school than we were doing on council. And I just remember, because it was the end of my term and the school chair was pretty surprised that we were already going to be voting on something. And I said, oh, but it came to you guys a couple times. But like I said, they were so swamped. So either way, I don't mind the veto, or I don't mind us tabling it and having the mayor sit down with A&O and discussing it again. But I really think a lot of it was more about the time and what they were all going through. We were like going through each piece. And if you remember, the school committee and mayor wasn't able to come to those council A&O meetings when we got to the school pieces, because they had meetings those same nights as well. So I think that's the whole thing.
Thank you. Next, I have Counselor Bottomley.
Thanks. I just wanted to mention, I think this is another reason when it comes to process, why we should have a budget for independent legal counsel, which we have not had in the past. There's numerous issues that keep creeping up where the council really needs independent legal counsel. So I know this will be coming forward and that we put a request in for a budget for legal counsel. So I think this is just one more reason why we really need that budget.
Thank you. Counselor Forgy.
Thank you, President Gilmore, for giving me another opportunity to speak. There is an important part here. There have been some very good ideas that have been thrown out this evening, but there is a really important piece that I wish to address, and that is that whether you want a strong mayor or you don't want a strong mayor, the charter at the moment allows for a strong mayor. The mayor is elected, as are all the councilors. And she, by virtue of her office, serves on the school committee. I'm always nervous when there's an issue of equality that arises between elected officials. In some ways, saying that the mayor shall not be able to sit as the chair would be the same as saying the council president is forbidden to participate in a subcommittee's meeting. It doesn't seem to be an equal piece of elected authority. And so I'm just going to say the following things. I would caution people to think more about what it means to be an elected official and what it means as far as the equality you want to have when you serve on a committee or a board. And I think that the idea of either sending it back to A&O or tabling it this evening is a good way to gather some more information. Maybe going back to A&O, there can be an opportunity for A&O to discuss this with the mayor and see if there's an alternative position. Just a suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to recognize Tammy before I go to you, Counselor Mayo, just because I had asked a question earlier.
Excuse me. According to the charter, if the mayor disapproves of the measure, the mayor shall return the measure for a specific reason or reasons for such disapproval attached therein in writing to the city council. The city council shall enter the objections of the mayor on its records, and not sooner than 10 days, nor after 30 days from the date of its return to the city council, shall again consider the same measure. I spoke to Clerk Scott, and I don't believe that vetoes can be tabled because of the time frame.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you. Next I have Counselor Mayo.
I just want to say, Counselor Forgy just took the wind out of my sails. I agree with her wholeheartedly that even though Tammy just spoke on the matter, I believe that we should hear more from the mayor on the topic, and that means for me that it makes perfect sense that we table the issue until we hear more from the mayor, either in person or in writing, which Tammy just spoke about. It allows for her to respond in writing, to speak on the matter or to write on the matter, and I for one would like to hear or read about that. So if we end up tabling it, I would be in favor of that. Thank you.
So just to clarify, if we did table this, we would have to schedule a special meeting so that we satisfy that time frame.
That's okay.
Is there anyone else who wants to weigh in? And actually, before I recognize anyone else, Will, are you able to speak again? I know you were having some trouble earlier, but I had questions.
Can you hear me now?
So much better, yes. Please pontificate.
I wish I could, Sheila. I'm not familiar with the state laws on this. So I am having trouble trying to figure out the best way to proceed. I think if you table it and there is a timeline, then you are going to have a special meeting. That's the best I can come up with. I've been looking through Robert's rules. I've been looking everywhere, and I find nothing that quite addresses this satisfactorily. You're creating procedure. Congratulations to you all. I'm sorry that I'm at sea here. My recommendation originally was to table the motion, not table the veto. Table the motion to veto, to override the veto, and try to get some clarification from the mayor and try to stop it.
Can you tell me what's the difference between tabling the motion and tabling the veto? Because those sound the same to me.
Well, you have a motion on the floor. Read me the motion one more time, please, Sheila.
Oh, let me pull it up. Sorry, I'm looking at the cover sheet. So the motion on the floor is, oh, I went too far.
Want me to read it?
Oh, would you please?
Okay. Move that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Charter, Article 4, School Department, Section 4(2), School Committee Chair, subsection A, election and term, be amended, previously voted on by the City Council on January 19th, 2022, and vetoed by the mayor on January 28th, 2022. It is hereby approved. That's the motion.
I'm somewhat confused by the wording.
That is unclear. So it says that the Greenfield City Charter, blah, 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 blah. Hold on, I'm trying to parse this down just so that the titles aren't confusing. Move that it be ordered that this section be amended, previously voted on by, okay, so that this motion that was previously voted on by the City Council on January 19th and vetoed by the mayor on January 28th is hereby approved. So, and then the no vote is to uphold the mayor's veto and the yes vote is to override the mayor's veto. I don't know if that clarifies it for you at all.
So clearly, the motion on the floor, whether or not
That's correct.
that could be tabled, and then you could have a discussion.
Can't hear
it.
Yeah, Will, I can't hear you. I'm sorry, Will, I can't hear you. My understanding is that we can table this motion. What isn't clear to me is what happens if we table the motion, because I thought that there was a time limit. Okay, I can't hear Will. I'm gonna move on to Councilor Tremonto.
I just wanted to clarify kind of something that I was saying. Wasn't so much in regards to the approval or disapproval of the veto of this. It's bringing it up as a for future, potentially for future discrepancies, just like if there's going to be something that's inconsistent, that would be the reason. Was just suggesting like, let this go. If it's of enough importance, we would know that put in the change for 1 and a change for 2 melded together. That would at least eliminate sort of on this type of basis. That makes sense?
I'm gonna ask really quickly, are other people having trouble hearing Councilor Carranzo? Okay, I was scared it was me because there's 2 speakers in a row. Councilor Carranzo, I'm gonna come back to you in a moment. I'm gonna move to Councilor Healy.
Yes, I guess the real question is, has anybody had any input from the school committee, since this mainly affects the school committee with their being in charge, right? So I don't know if those conversations were ever had. They probably should be had, and I apologize. I have the flu right now, so I'm like trying to push through this meeting. But I think really what you need to do is get the school committee involved, and I think there's a way around this where if we vote on this or we table it and we don't get around to the veto, maybe there's a way we could restructure the wording of the vote and try to pass it through again with it maybe worded a little differently. Maybe something in the lines of needs majority vote of the school committee, or try to reword it and work with the mayor. Because it seems like it's a double-edged sword. If we go one way, and the mayor is just it doesn't do anything, right? We're just fighting the mayor, and then the mayor says, well, it's not going to do anything in Boston, right? So let's work with the mayor and the school committee to see the best way to reword this, would be my opinion.
Thank you. Next, I have Councilor Elm. I'm sorry, I'm going to give Councilor Carranzo another shot.
Is this better? Is this better now?
I think so.
Okay. I was essentially saying kind of similar to what Derek was just saying. So, but if for the future, the reason I was addressing it in the way was not to be in agreement or disagreement with the topic of this veto, was more her first reason of why she was vetoing it was because there was inconsistencies between 4.1 and 4.2, and so even if we let this one go for the future, keeping that in mind, that if we're going to make a change, make sure that the other articles are symbiotic, if you will. Just almost like a learning lesson for future articles. And then if this becomes so much that we really, really want to address it again, we know at least ahead of time we would have to be changing 4.1 also as 4.2. But that was it.
All right, thank you. If there's anyone from the public who has their mic on, if you could please mute yourself, because that's going to help a little bit with this echo. But so I'm being told that different councilors have different audio mixes, and that's causing some of the problem. Let's see. Okay, I have Councilor Mayo next, and then Councilor Ricketts.
Sheila, I think you skipped me.
It sounds to me like a good.
I'm sorry, Councilor Mayo, can I cut you off? I'm sorry, I skipped over Councilor Elmer because I noted Councilor Bullock's comment about people muting. I'm really sorry.
Can you tell?
Can you hear me?
Councilor Mayo, I think she skipped over me. I think she's giving me the floor.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yes, sorry, Doug, that was my fault.
My understanding was that this actually came from the school committee. I may be wrong about that. I do believe they knew about it. I'm going to suggest that the mayor, it's not really about one section being inconsistent with another. She's protecting the power of her office. And we were taking something away from the office, and like the president does all the time, he vetoes something because it takes, she's protecting the office, I think is basically what I'm saying. So The fact is that even if we veto it, she has the final say, and it doesn't go to the state unless she wants it to. So I'm not sure it's worth talking about anymore. If we don't like her veto, we should vote and override it now and let the chips fall as they may. Or if we think this isn't a hill worth dying on, we should let her have her veto. That would be my suggestion. Having a special meeting about this when we really have no power seems a waste of time. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I had Councilor Mayo.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. It sounds to me like there's a good percentage of counselors that want to hear more from either the school committee or the mayor. And I think that calls for a tabling of the motion. And I think we should just proceed on that and go with a special meeting if we need to be. I don't think there needs to be any more discussion on it at this point. We've talked it to death, and I think we just need to hear from either the school committee what their opinion is of it, and if the mayor has any input on it, I'd like to hear that. I think we should table it.
Is that a motion to table?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Oh.
Okay, I don't have a second, so the motion fails. Councilor Ricketts.
Okay, I call the question. I'm ready to vote on it.
All right. Thank you. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Roll call.
I'm sorry, seconded.
Toronzo.
Okay, so a no vote would uphold the mayor's veto. A yes vote would override the mayor's veto.
This is a motion to call.
Wait.
Someone called the question.
I'm sorry. You're right. We're calling the question. Okay. Yes to call the question, no to keep talking.
Councilor Jarvis,
Yes.
Councilor DeSorger,
Yes.
Councilor Bottomley,
Yes.
Councilor Bullock,
Yes.
Councilor Mayo,
Yes.
Councilor Healy,
Yes.
Councilor Elmer,
Yes.
Councilor Forgy, Councilor Forgy,
Yes.
thank you. Councilor Ricketts,
Yes.
Councilor Toronzo,
Yes.
Madam President, would you like to vote?
No, thank you.
Okay. The motion passes. Call the question. So now the original motion is on the floor to be voted. Councilor,
All right, if I can-
Could you tell us what the yes and the no vote would be, so everyone knows?
it says it right on the order. If you vote no, the mayor's veto is upheld. If you vote yes, the mayor's veto is overridden.
Point of order, please.
Yes.
It's a 2/3 vote required.
Correct.
Thank you. That is always, yes, that's always the case with vetoes for those of you who are new.
Councilor Jarvis,
No.
Councilor DeSorger,
No.
Councilor Bottomley,
Yes.
Councilor Bullock,
No.
Councilor Mayo,
Yes.
Counselor Healy,
No.
Counselor Elmer,
No.
Counselor Forgy,
No.
Counselor Ricketts,
No?
Counselor Toronzo,
Yes.
Madam President, would you like to vote?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, thank you.
I meant no. What was my vote?
I'm sorry,
I'm sorry,
Counselor.
who was that?
This is Councilor Toronto. My vote is no.
No, thanks.
And I don't need to vote on this one.
Okay.
You want to vote? Madam
All right,
President,
so-
do you want to vote?
No, thank you.
Okay, so there's 8 no and 2 yes. It did not meet the requirement.
Okay, thank you. All right, next we have mayor's appointments and reappointments. Can I get someone to read that, please?
I can read. The city council moved that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Council pursuant to Charter Section 2-10 affirms the following appointments and reappointments by the mayor. Appointments: Fire Station Building Committee. Jim Wynn, term expires upon project completion. Reappointments: Agriculture Commission. Nathaniel Hussey, term expires December 31st, 2024. Conservation Commission, Fletcher Harrington, term expires December 31st, 2024. And Redevelopment Authority, Charlene Galunka, term expires December 31st, 2024. Majority vote required.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second, Ricketts.
And can I get a report from the committee?
Mute.
You're muted.
Is there someone on ANO who can tell us?
It's unanimous positive recommendation.
Thank you. All right, do we have any questions or comments? All right, seeing none. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Counselor Jarvis,
Yes.
Counselor DeSorger,
Yes.
Counselor Bottomley,
Yes.
Counselor Bullock,
Yes.
Counselor Mayo,
Yes.
Counselor Healy,
Yes.
Counselor Elmer,
Yes.
Counselor Forgy,
Yes.
Counselor Ricketts. You're muted, Counselor Ricketts.
Yes.
Thank you. Counselor Toronzo,
Yes.
does the president wish to vote?
No, thank you.
Passes unanimously.
Wonderful. All right, now we are moving to charter amendments. Councillor Forgy, would you lead us through section 6?
Sure. So this is order fiscal year 22-085. The city council moved that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Charter, Article 6, Administration Organization, Section 6-6, Department of Central Maintenance be amended by deleting the section in its entirety as indicated in strike-through form below, and reserve this section for future use. And that the city council further instructs the city clerk to submit the approved vote to the legislature of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and requests said legislature to amend the city charter. Majority vote required.
Second, Disorder.
Thank you. Basically, this was originally put in place when the charter was formed 20 years ago. It was an idea to combine some of the same functions that both the city and the school had and thought to be shared. At this particular time, however, we have voted, this council has voted to have the Central Maintenance Department incorporated into the Public Works Department. And that was voted and approved on at one of our previous meetings. And so this language needed to be removed. The section 6-6 is a reserved section, meaning that it will just stay as 6.6. There will be no title to it. There will be no information in it. But if another charter change came along in that fit into Article 6, the full article, this number would be used and brought forward. It's a placekeeper.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Counselor Jarvis,
Yes.
Counselor Disorder,
Yes.
Counselor Bottomley,
Yes?
Counselor Bullock,
Yes.
Counselor Mayo,
Yes.
Counselor Healy,
Yes.
Counselor Elmer,
Yes.
Counselor Forgy,
Yes.
Counselor Ricketts,
Yes.
Counselor Toronzo,
Yes.
with the president-elect objecting.
No, thank you.
Passes unanimously.
Great, thank you. All right, take it away, Chris.
All right, here we go. Fiscal year 22-079. The city council moved that it be ordered that the city council charter Article 6, Administrative Organization 6-11A, Public Safety Commission, be amended by increasing the number of members from 5 to 7, as indicated below, with the bold text to be added and strike-through text to be removed. Section 611, the Public Safety Commission. There shall be a Public Safety Commission consisting of 7 members, all of whom shall be residents and registered voters of the city appointed by the mayor, subject to the provisions of Section 2.10, and that the city council further instructs the city clerk to submit the approved vote to the legislature of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and request said legislature to amend the city charter. Majority vote required.
Second, Jarvis.
This in committee, this first piece was a majority vote of yes, 1 no, and 1 abstention to increase the number until to 7.
All right, do we have any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Counselor Jarvis,
Yes.
Counselor Disorder,
Yes.
Counselor Bottomley,
Yes? Yes.
Counselor Bullock,
Yes.
Counselor Mayo,
Yes.
Counselor Elmer.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I skipped over you, Counselor Healy. I apologize. Counselor Healy,
Yes.
Counselor Forgy,
Yes.
Counselor Ricketts,
Yes.
Counselor Toronzo,
Yes.
does the president wish to vote?
No, thank you.
Passed unanimously.
Great, next.
Okay, fiscal year 22-080. The city council move that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Charter, Article 6, Administrative Organization, Section 6-11B, Public Safety Commission be amended by striking the word fiscal and replacing it with calendar to read as follows. Section 6-11, Public Safety Commission B, at the first meeting of each calendar year, the commission shall elect a chairperson, vice chairperson, and secretary, and the secretary shall keep a record of its of its meetings. And that the city council further instructs the city clerk to submit the approved vote to the legislature of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and request said legislature to amend the city charter. Unanimous vote required.
Second, Ricketts.
Thank you. This came out of committee with a positive unanimous recommendation.
All right, do we have any questions or comments? Seeing none, can I get a roll call vote? I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think
I
we might have said.
I heard Councillor Forgy say a unanimous vote was required. It's majority vote.
You're right. Thank you. I stand corrected.
That would be probably not a problem with this particular motion, but thank you. All right, Councillor DeSorger, you also wanted to say something. Was it the same issue?
Same thing.
Great. We have two sharp people. Thank you. Does anyone have anything else? Okay, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Counselor Jarvis,
Yes.
Counselor DeSorger,
Yes.
Counselor Bottomley,
Yes.
Counselor Bullock,
Yes.
Counselor Mayo,
Yes.
Counselor Healy,
Yes.
Counselor Elmer,
Yes.
Counselor Forgy,
Yes.
Counselor Ricketts,
Yes.
Counselor Toronzo,
Yes.
does the president wish to vote?
No, thank you.
Passes unanimously.
Order
Thank
fiscal
you.
Order fiscal year 22-081. The city council moved that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Charter, boy, this is getting. Okay, the Greenfield City Charter, Article 6, Administrative Organization, Section 6-11C, Public Safety Commission be amended by striking the number 3 and replacing it with the number 4 to read as follows. Section 611, Public Safety Commission, C, the members shall serve 4-year staggered terms. Commission members shall serve without compensation. And that the city council further instructs the city clerk to submit the approved vote to the legislature of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and requests said legislature to amend the city charter. Majority vote required.
Second, Mayo.
Second, DeSorger.
Unanimous positive recommendation on this change.
Thank you. Do we have any?
Majority.
Oh, gosh. You did it twice. 2 strikes, Chris.
I thought
That's
I
2
said
strikes.
majority.
No.
Well, it's okay.
No.
I thought I said majority, but I'll stand corrected again. Thank you.
That's fine. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
No. You said majority when you talked about the A and O vote.
Oh, it was unanimous. Yes, the A and O vote was unanimous, majority, positive recommendation. Just more words. Thank you.
Sorry.
That's okay.
We're going to get through it, folks. Don't worry.
Okay.
Does anyone have any questions or comments on the motion itself? All right, seeing none, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Counselor Jarvis,
Yes.
Counselor DeSorger,
Yes.
Counselor Bottomley,
Yes.
Counselor Bullock,
Yes.
Counselor Mayo,
Yes.
Counselor Haley,
Yes.
Counselor Elmer,
Yes.
Counselor Forgy,
Yes.
Counselor Rickett,
Yes.
Counselor Toronzo.
Yes.
Does the president wish to vote?
No, thank you.
Motion passes unanimously.
Order number fiscal year 22-082, the City Council move that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Charter Section, Article 6, Administrative Organization, Section 6-11D, Public Safety Commission powers and duties be amended as indicated below, with bold text to be added and strike-through text to be removed. Section 6-11, Public Safety Commission, D. Powers and duties. The commission shall assist the mayor in the supervision and oversight of all departments, parentheses, fire, police, emergency management, dispatch, and parentheses, including the coordination of the administration of all departments with one another and with other city departments and agencies by making recommendations to the mayor concerning: 1, setting priorities with the said department heads. 2, the annual operating budget of all departments after the mayor and the commission have met with the public safety department heads to discuss the proposed budgets. 3, the capital budget requests of all public safety departments shall be submitted to the mayor after the commission has met with the department heads to discuss their requests. The commission members may only inspect the departments on an annual basis in connection with budget review. Inspection shall include facility and equipment maintenance, department and records, status of policies and procedures, and reviews of any other aspect of the departments deemed necessary to the smooth operation of said departments. Inspection shall be made only after approval from the department head has been obtained to ensure that it will not disrupt department operations. 4, the final review for appointments and promotions of all personnel in the police and fire departments shall be conducted by the commission and the respective public safety department head. The public safety department head shall submit recommendations to the commission, and the commission, if it does not agree with said recommendations, shall submit written reasons for not concurring with said recommendations to the mayor. Appointments and promotions of public safety personnel shall be made in accordance with civil service law and general laws and the local hiring process policy requirements as defined by the mayor respectfully, as they may apply to the city hiring process, parentheses, HR and the mayor. And that the city council further instructs the city clerk to submit the approved vote to the legislature of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and request said legislature to amend the city charter. Majority vote required.
Second, Mayo.
Thank you. Madam President, this came out of committee with a unanimous positive recommendation.
Great. And Councillor Jarvis wants to either provide or ask for clarification.
No, I just want to provide one. Sorry, Chris.
That's okay, Ed. I'm used to it.
Under 3, after inspections, you said shall. Shall was supposed to be crossed out and the word can include. So it was just, you read shall instead. So shall is struck in from the, so I just to clarify it for the record, that's all.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. The language is can. Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Toronzo has a question.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just in that last paragraph where it says appointments and promotions of public safety personnel shall be made in accordance with service law. Is that, did the fire department from a promotions be civil service?
No, in the last contract that was negotiated, and this, you wouldn't know this. Then we voted in January on their contract, and contract removed firefighters from civil service, with the exception of the chief.
Okay.
The chief's position was voted into civil service in like 1939, and it was done at town meeting. So now it needs to be removed. You need to have it on the ballot, and the city needs to vote to remove the chief.
Right, but that's why I was asking if this is saying that the appointments of public safety personnel shall be made in accordance with civil service law, but if they're not, if the firefighter,
But the chief is. Unfortunately, the chief is.
right, but isn't this saying all appointments and promotions of public safety? Or is that just because one is, then others would just fall under general laws and
General.
policy?
Yeah, it's not saying that all firefighters fall under civil service, but any firefighter could fall. I mean, if they're in the running for chief, then they would have to be appointed through civil service.
Okay, that's kind of what I
And
was,
or in accordance with, sorry.
that's what I was kind of clarifying was if they're not civil service, then they obviously don't have to follow civil service. They just go by the local hiring policies,
Yes.
Right.
the way that was worded. Because it says shall, and so I was just clarifying that. That's okay.
No, that was a good question, and you're right to ask it. But we need to make sure that we're referencing all of the applicable laws.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
Did we have any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Counselor Jarvis,
Yes.
Counselor DeSorger,
Yes.
Counselor Bottomley,
Yes?
Counselor Bullock,
Yes.
Counselor Mayo,
Yes.
Counselor Healy,
Yes.
Counselor Elmer,
Yes.
Counselor Forgy,
Yes.
Counselor Ricketts,
Yes.
Counselor Toronzo.
Yes.
Does the president wish to vote?
No, thank you.
Passes unanimously.
Fiscal year 22-083, the city council moved that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Charter, Article 6, Administrative Organization, Section 6-13, parentheses F3, Public Safety Commission be amended as indicated with bold text to be added as follows. Section 611, Public Safety Commission, F, meetings. Okay.
It's F3, so just.
Yeah, okay, I'll read it, and then I think we might have to go back. The commission shall meet on a regular basis. That's item 1. Item 2, special meetings may be called by the mayor, chairman of the commission, or majority vote of the commission. Item 3, minutes shall be kept of all public meetings, including executive session in accordance with open meeting laws. And 4, the commission may establish its own rules of procedure, including those governing the conduct of the meeting. And that the city council further instructs the city clerk to submit the approved vote to the legislature of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and request said legislature to amend the city charter. Majority vote required.
Second, Mayo.
Before I move on,
Yeah.
You seems like you were concerned about something, Councilor Forgy.
Yes, but the 5, I believe, on item F, it says meetings 5. I'm sorry. I think the 5 doesn't belong there. I think the 5 references a footnote that we discussed, but I think the 5 should be removed.
I see what you mean.
Yeah. Yeah, it references
I think we could just make an amendment to remove that.
I would accept that.
So moved, Elmer.
Second.
Second, Jarvis.
Okay, so now we'll vote on the motion as amended to remove that extraneous 5.
Correct.
We do it by voice vote?
Counselor Jarvis?
Yes.
Counselor DeSorger?
Yes.
Counselor Bottomley?
Yes.
Counselor Bullock?
Yes.
Counselor Mayo?
Yes.
Counselor Healy?
Yes.
Counselor Elmer?
Yes.
Counselor Forgy?
Yes.
Counselor Ricketts?
Yes.
Counselor Toronto?
Yes.
Madam President, would you like to vote?
No, thank you. All right, does anybody have any questions or comments on the motion as amended? All right, seeing none, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Counselor Jarvis?
Yes.
Counselor DeSorger?
Yes.
Counselor Bottomley?
Yes.
Counselor Bullock?
Yes.
Counselor Mayo?
Yes.
Counselor Healy?
Yes.
Counselor Elmer?
Yes.
Counselor Forgy?
Yes.
Counselor Ricketts?
Yes.
Counselor Toronto?
Yes.
Does the president wish to vote?
No, thank you.
Okay, motion as amended.
Great. All right,
Okay.
so
Here we go. Only 2 more. Fiscal year 22-084. The City Council moved that be ordered that the Greenfield City Charter Article 6, Administrative Organization, Section 6-11H, Public Safety Commission be amended as indicated below, with bold text to be added and strike-through text to be removed. Section 6-11, Public Safety Commission. H, no member of the commission shall be an employee of the police department, nor shall any member of his or her family be an employee or retired member of the police or fire department within 36 months of his or her retirement date. Family member shall mean father, mother, spouse, child, stepchild, grandchild, brother, sister, brother-in-law. That needs a spelling correction. And
Father-in-law.
sister-in-law, nephew, niece, and grandparent. And that the City Council further instructs the city clerk to submit the approved vote to the legislature of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and request said legislature to amend the city charter. Majority vote.
Disorder. Sorry, Chris.
That's okay. This was unanimous positive recommendation.
thank you. Any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, can I get a, I'm sorry?
I liked bother-in-law as a typo.
I don't know. I've got some bother-in-laws that bother me a lot. So, okay, moving on. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Yeah, I meant to do that. Counselor Jarvis?
Yes.
Counselor DeSorger?
Yes.
Counselor Bottomley?
Yes.
Counselor Bullock?
Yes.
Counselor Mayo?
Yes.
Counselor Healy?
Yes.
Counselor Elmer,
Yes.
Counselor Forgy, I'm sorry, Counselor Forgy?
Yes.
Thank you. Counselor Ricketts,
Yes.
Counselor Toronzo,
Yes.
does the president wish to vote?
No, thank you.
Passes unanimously, and I will fix the typo.
Thank you. Last one, fiscal year 22-084. The city council move that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Charter, Article 6, Administrative Organization, Section 6-11H.
Didn't we just do this?
We
I
already did
think,
this.
yeah, wait a minute. I think we did do it.
Yes.
Yep, that's a duplicate.
It was so much fun the first time, guys.
Well, we're done. We're done.
All right, so then we're moving on to presentation of petitions and similar papers, correct? Anything like that? Do any committee chairs want to give a report of their committees? All right, do we have any unfinished business? Do we have any old business? Councilor DeSorger? Councilor DeSorger, did you want to speak to, I couldn't tell if it was old business or unfinished.
New business. It would be new business.
New business? The floor is yours.
I just wanted, if we could dedicate a page to Chris Collins. The page of today's meeting to Chris Collins, if we could do that.
I think that would be appropriate. Thank you. Does anyone else have anything under new business that they would like to bring up?
I would like to say something.
Yes, please.
I'm not sure what to do with it, but I would like to acknowledge that, or say something about Counselor, what's his name, Lapinski's comments. I thought they were out of line, and the fact that he disappeared afterwards, I don't know, it showed disrespect for the council, and maybe it's something we can talk about at chairs. Maybe not here, but I didn't want it to go unremarked. Thank you.
I agree with you, and that's why I wanted to make sure that I mentioned, rather than have you say it, I really wanted to make sure that I said as council president that I don't feel that Councilor Elmer is attacking you, because I don't feel like that's the kind of person that you are. We've been serving together for a couple of years now, and I know you better than that. So I wanted to make sure that I said that, first and foremost. I agree with you. I think that we should set some expectations for how counselors speak to each other, how we interact with each other, how we interact with the public. And if anyone has any suggestions, I'm definitely going to have a conversation with Counselor Gwynn, Vice President Gwynn, as my partner in crime here. He should weigh in on this, and especially any committee chairs who feel like if they're worried about the decorum on their subcommittees. I think chairs is going to be a really great place for that conversation. And I do want to apologize to anybody who felt attacked during that. But we're going to make sure that we don't treat each other that way. We're all adults. All right. Is there anything else that anyone would like to bring up under new business? Okay, motions for reconsideration. This is everyone's favorite part. Who wants to make a motion to adjourn?
So
moved, Jarvis.
Who wants a second?
Second, Mayo.
Okay, all in favor? Oh, do we need a roll call
Aye.
for this one, Tammy?
No roll call needed.
Great.
Yay.
Good night, folks.